Good morning, St. Lucers. It's good to be with you again on yet another day that the Lord has made, is inviting us into, and is calling us through. If you have talked to me much in the last couple of years, you've probably heard me talk about that idea of calling. We preached on it a couple years ago. We talk about it in the midst of this journey that we're all on in the last year, and how are we being called through that? How are we being called as a church? How are we being called to transform the world, to reveal the kingdom? How is our discipleship being lived out in that way? And sometimes we have that narrow idea of calling. And we've talked about this before, but I want to refocus on that because I think there is an element where as we entered into a new year, we all had this hope that things would feel different. We all had this hope of a renewed sense of purpose and a renewed sense of what's next. And I think there's some of that. I think as we see friends and family getting vaccines, I think as we see the world continuing to move together, I think we see some hope in that. But sometimes it's hard. It can be hard to find what it is that what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis is part of the bigger picture of God. I was reading back through a small book, a very small book called Consider Your Calling. A really, really simple book, but one that has moments that remind us of bigger truths. And this little passage I want to share with you is talking about the need to develop what they call vocational imagination. So often we think of our vocation or our calling as being about our work, but it's actually about our whole lives. It says, we need to grow in an appreciation of the nature and character of the work of God as the context and foundation of our own work. First, we have to remember that God is the creator of all things. And this creator God invites all to participate in this extraordinary work as co-creators, to be those who understand the created order and tend the creation and reflect the beauty of the creation through the arts. Second, God is the redeemer of all things. In similar fashion, we are invited to be co-workers with God in the healing of all things. There is a sense in which all work is a participation in either the creative or the redemptive purposes of God. So I want to offer you that sentiment today because I want you to look at your day and look at what is coming up and look at the things that you get the opportunity to do and ask the work that you are being invited to do, whether that is with family and friends, whether that is at a job, whether that's sitting at a Zoom screen all day. But to ask that question, how am I participating either in God's creation or in God's redemption in the world? We have been invited to be co-creators and co-workers with God, not just workers in our own professional vocations, but in a much bigger job, in a much bigger work, the great work that God has done, is doing, and will continue to do with us as we continue to journey together. So I offer you that question to carry throughout your day. How are you being a co-creator or a co-worker with God today to join in what God is already doing all around you? It's in Jesus' name you are called, and Jesus walks with you as you continue to journey on this pilgrimage that we find ourselves on. Amen.